Hello, my friends. Sorry for the lighting. It's just that I live in a small room, and I have to get up there to open the light. So I only have a small light on here, and I'm actually laying on the bed. But I just wanted to talk about something, and it's something that is very, very important. You can ask yourself, what is the devil's playground? You see, the devil's playground in a human being. What is it? You see, the devil's playground is the five senses. You see, what you see, what you hear, taste, touch, and all those feelings that flood in when you do those things. Smell, you see, those are the things that the world uses itself to intoxicate your five senses. When you come into a city and you cross the bridge and you see the big buildings, beautiful ocean, and you're going across that bridge, you feel a sense of awe, a sense of power, a sense of strength. But in the end, that's all a lie. You see, so in today's world, where when you see the five senses are being bombarded left, right, and center by things like the internet and what's all around us now, at home, the television, iPods, you just go down the list. There's so many different devices that are constantly feeding your five senses. You see, there are foods that people are eating, there aromas all around the place. So these are the things that constantly they fill us. So when you walk around and you see, for example, people dressed in a lustful way, whoever it is, wherever it is, you see, if you don't have a filter within you, and I'll explain that filter, then what happens is that goes inside your being, so that the next time you see, that's the first reference, that's the reference point of how to interpret that information. You see? So when you see another person, then it goes back to your last frame and how you felt and the feelings that were associated with it. You see? So this is how the devil, with the power of all the modern technology and all the gizmos and gadgets, things moving faster, is able to program people through the five senses. Now, when you pray, when you seek God, excuse me, you have to become silent. You have to become quiet. You need to become deaf, blind, and dumb to the world. You close your eyes. You see, you remove yourself. You separate yourself from all the physical senses, all the things that can entice your physical senses. The phone, whatever it is. You see, in order so that you can be filled within with something that is beyond your physical senses, your bodily senses, you see, and all the feelings that are associated with those bodies. If you look at the wisdom of the world, it goes around your five senses and providing a security for those five senses. You see, you have food, you have water, you have clothing, you have education, and then after education you have an enlightenment, right? Or self-awareness, something like that. You get into some other things, which are involved what they call in the metaphysical area, of enlightenment. But you have to first be programmed into be able to receive those arenas. But again, all that is catered around your five senses. So when you pray and when you start receiving spiritually from God, what happens is that you close your five senses and you submit them, right, to the Spirit of God. And then you start receiving things from the Spirit of God. You start receiving food, you start receiving water, something for your mouth, your spiritual mouth, your ears, your spiritual sight, your vision. God gives you vision, right? God gives you dreams. God gives you so many things. So when you start receiving these things, guess what now? Now when you open your physical eyes and you see things, the interpretation comes from those things that God has filled you with within. You see? So this is why it is so important for all of us, me number one, right, to be filled with the fruits of the Spirit, the things of the Spirit, for in another way to say, the nectar of the Spirit of God, you see, to be within us, so that now when I look at something, instead of me reacting in the way the world is trying to program me to react, right, I will react in the way in which the Spirit of God has told me to react. You see, and it has been, the feeling has been put within me. You see? So just as when you when you see something, you have a certain feeling associated with it. So now when the Spirit of God has put something in you, there's a certain feeling associated with it. You see? So that's why, we have to excuse me, we have to spend time with the Spirit of God and start learning how to be filled more and more with the Spirit of God, right? And then what happens is that now your five senses will submit to who you are on the inside, you see? So, but if you don't receive anything from the Spirit of God, then what's going to happen is you start receiving from the world. You see, you start getting programmed by the world. You start watching all these videos everywhere. Someone is telling you the end of the world is 2015 September, and everybody is now telling you that no, it's ending in 2014. It was supposed to end 2012. Someone said that some other planet is going to fly in, and on such and such a date, and so on. And so you start being programmed by that, and now you're interpreting everything according to that which is filling you on the inside. You see? So, in the end, things are going to happen, my friends, whether we like it or not. The problem is it's not going to happen the way human minds or all these other things are telling us it's going to. It's going to happen the way the Spirit of God tells us it's going to happen. And the only way we can know that is if we're in tune with the Spirit of God. You see? So that should be the internal foundation, right? That should be our reference. That should be our framework that exists and lives and abides in us, so that whatever comes from the outside from our five senses, it has to go through that. It has to be scrutinized by that filter, by the Spirit of God that abides in us to tell us, hey, throw this out. This one doesn't belong here, or this is how this person, you see. And that Spirit of God also, it is the discerner of the, of the motivations of so many different things. Sometimes you just don't want to do something, and you don't know why, but there's something, you see. So the only thing what we know how to do is we pray to the Lord and say, Lord, I don't know why I didn't like that, but I commit that situation into your hands. Help me to understand more, and you don't know, maybe you were being saved from something, you see. Maybe there was a reason why you had to have that feeling, you see. So most people, they're dictated to by the carnal mind, which is completely ruled by the five senses, see, and the feelings that now begin to be generated from those five senses, you see. That's why when you see a prosperity gospel, for example, it's all catered around your five senses and telling you that you're going to be blessed. Everything is going to be okay. You're going to have food, water, clothing. You're going to be well educated. And then, hey, guess what? You're also going to inherit the kingdom of heaven, and you're going to have great enlightenment that way. But that's not the way it is. The way it is not through the quest of knowledge, you see, and the manipulation of the carnal mind. You see, this is by the infilling of the mind of Christ within us. You see, by indwelling of the mind of the Spirit of God to be within us, you see, in us and with us, you see. We are the temple of God. We are supposed to be the throne of God, our hearts and minds, in our hearts, right? So when we allow the Spirit of God to dwell in us, then we begin to be embellished with those attributes, which the thinkings, the musings, the contemplations, the visions, the ways forward, the plans, the purposes, the love, right? The joy, the peace, all those things that we cannot do in our own strength and give the world in our own strength, because the world is selfish, more individualistic, more all about me, all about me, all about me. So in the end, you cannot do it in your own strength. The only way you can is if you are, spending time with the Spirit of God. So it sounds very redundant. Oh, Spirit of God, spend time. Spirit of God, spend time. But in the end, that's what makes you strong in anything. Whatever you spend time with, it could be, being a liar, and you spend time practicing lies, and with other liars, you become a better liar. See, it's the truth. So the same thing is when you spend time with the Spirit of God, guess what? As you begin to practice and practice and practice and practice, you become a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. See, and God is faithful, The more you do, the more your heart begins to become right. Because many times our motivations are not right. We're not even in tune with our motives ourselves. That's how evil some of our motivations are. You see? So, in the end, God knows when our motives are right. And He reveals to us the things that are right and wrong. For me, there have been many things also have been revealed which are wrong. And, I've had to change, many of those things. And it's only a blessing of God to be given the opportunity to change those things, and that I'm still here in this world. But it's easy to talk. It's very hard sometimes, because the path of a true follower of Jesus Christ is a very narrow road. And there are very few people that want to do everything what it takes to get there, the things, and draw close to Jesus Christ. You see, so it's hard to call in one sense, because you try and look for a group, to say, hey, look, which guys are doing this, and you realize that not many people are doing it the way it needs to be done. So then you do it yourself, and then you realize you're alone, But if you do it the right way, and you understand and you start receiving from the Spirit of God, God provides what you need, He provides the people you need, the formats you need, the environments you need, in the way in which He deems is right. And you see, and that's what it is, see? So take heed to your five senses, my friends, because if you look at the world today, it's becoming more and more fancy, more and more entertainment and pleasure for your five senses. More and more shows, more and more candy, eye candy, what they say, all over the place. Everybody is addicted to all kinds of shows and things like that. So just remember one thing, my friends, take the time out, to close your five senses. Make a practice of that, and spending time in the quietness, in silence, and open your heart to the Lord more and more, rather than less and less.